The glass tower looms ahead, sharp, sleek, and cold in the morning light. To the world outside, it is a symbol of success, achievement, and untouchable power. But to Elijah Bennett, it feels more like a gilded cage, a place where his worth is questioned, his every step scrutinized. He has been here for 5 years, outperforming his colleagues time and again, but still, he's treated like he doesn't belong. Elijah strides toward the entrance, his steps measured, purposeful, as if preparing himself for the battles he knows lie ahead. The weight of the world doesn't seem to touch him as he walks through the revolving doors. The building may be a fortress to others, but to him, it's a battleground. Elijah steps into the elevator, pushing the button for the top floor. The soft hum of the cables is the only sound as he stands alone. His reflection in the polished metal doors stares back at him, focused, unyielding, but inside, the storm is already brewing. He's been here early countless times, outworking everyone else, proving his worth time and time again. But it never seems enough. His internal voice is a reminder. You are better than them. You've earned every step you've taken here, every inch of this space. But still, the sting of prejudice always lingers in the background. The elevator dings softly as it reaches the top floor. Elijah exits, his eyes scanning the empty, polished hallway. The quiet hum of fluorescent lights and the soft shuffle of office workers create a serene illusion of normalcy. But Elijah knows better. Every day here feels like a performance. His talent is undeniable, his dedication unmatched. But none of that matters when your worth is measured by the color of your skin. He walks past desks, his gaze briefly meeting those of his colleagues, but none of them really see him. Not fully. They see the black man who works tirelessly, who doesn't ask for much, except for respect, and that, somehow, seems like too much to ask for. As Elijah makes his way to his desk, the door to Mitchell Carter's office swings open. Mitchell, his supervisor, steps out, his eyes narrowing as he sees Elijah. There's a coldness in his gaze, one that never fully goes away. "You're late with that report, Bennett," Mitchell sneers, his voice dripping with disdain. "Do I need to remind you that this firm doesn't tolerate laziness?" Elijah's jaw tightens, the accusation hanging heavy in the air. He forces himself to speak evenly. "I've already submitted it. Check the system." Mitchell just scoffs. "I'll check it when I feel like it." Don't think you can get away with slipping through the cracks just because you've been here a little longer than the rest. You still have a lot to prove. Elijah nods, his fists clenched under his desk. Here we go again. It's the same thing every day, undermining his hard work, questioning his competence, making sure he knows he's never quite good enough. The morning meeting begins with a stiff professionalism, but Elijah can feel the tension building in the air. The conversation shifts to the upcoming promotion, the one that Elijah has earned with his hard work. Mitchell's voice cuts through the meeting as he calls Elijah out once again, this time more directly. "You're all well aware of the promotion to vice president," Mitchell announces to the room, his eyes locking with Elijah's. "But I'll be honest, there's someone else who should take that role. Someone who's been more reliable in terms of leadership skills, someone with a proven record of hard work." Elijah's chest tightens. Is he seriously doing this? His years of dedication, his impeccable record, all suddenly called into question by a man who has never taken the time to truly see him? The room grows silent. Elijah's colleagues exchange glances, but no one dares to speak up. The complicity of silence is deafening. Mitchell continues, his tone condescending. "And I think it's clear who that person is. Not everyone here can be as lazy as others, right?" Elijah feels the sting of the word lazy cut through him like a blade. His whole career here has been an uphill battle, each step harder than the last. But it's never been enough. Not for Mitchell, not for the system. His heart races, but Elijah holds himself steady. The internal battle rages. Do I fight back? Do I let this define me? He looks around the room. His colleagues, those who know him best, who've seen his excellence, remain silent. No one steps forward to challenge Mitchell's words. Elijah swallows hard, the rage building in his chest. Why is this always on me? As the meeting drags on, Elijah's mind is a blur. He's replaying his mother's words in his head. The only way to beat them is to be better than them. She's been telling him this for years, through every setback, every failure, and every painful moment. She'd been his strength when he thought he had none left. And right now, those words seem like a lifeline. Later, Elijah sits at his desk, the weight of the morning's events pressing down on him. The humiliation stings, but something else is rising inside him now, a burning resolve. He picks up his phone and dials a number. It rings for a moment before the familiar voice answers. "Hey, Mom," Elijah says, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Hey, baby, how's it going?" she asks, her voice warm with concern. "Not great," Elijah admits, "but I remember what you said. I'm just going to keep doing what I do best. I'm better than them, and I'm not going to let them make me feel small." He can hear the pride in his mother's voice as she replies, "That's right. Don't ever let them make you feel less than. You're better, Elijah. You've always been." Elijah stands up, a wave of determination filling his chest. "I don't have to fight dirty. I just have to be better than them." The office around him feels different now. Less oppressive, more like a place where he can prove not just his worth but his right to be here, to take up space. He takes a deep breath, ready for whatever comes next. This moment, he realizes, could be the one that changes everything. The air in the office feels dense, thick with unspoken tension. Elijah sits at his desk, head bent over his work, his fingers tapping steadily on the keyboard. Each click is a reminder, each task a battle he must fight alone. His screen fills with numbers, projections, reports, the evidence of his talent, his dedication. Yet, none of that matters. The walls of the office tower feel like they are closing in on him with every passing hour. Mitchell's presence is always looming, like a shadow that follows him everywhere. Mitchell approaches his desk with a slight, self-satisfied smirk, his steps slow and deliberate. Elijah's body tenses. "You know," Mitchell says, the word sharp. "This report you submitted, it's good, but I'm not sure it's as good as Nathan's." Elijah looks up, forcing himself to meet Mitchell's eyes, his voice even. "I'm sure you'll find that Nathan's was good too." Mitchell nods with a mocking sympathy. "Let's be honest, Nathan has connections. He's more visible. Don't let it get to you, Elijah. Sometimes it's not about how good your work is, but who you know." The weight of the comment settles like a stone in Elijah's chest. He swallows the anger rising inside him, but it's hard. Every day there's a new jab, a slight, something that undermines his achievements. His accomplishments never seem to be enough to make him worthy in Mitchell's eyes, or anyone else's. Later that afternoon, Elijah is buried in spreadsheets, the quiet of the office only broken by the hum of fluorescent lights. He can hear Mitchell in the next room, talking to someone, laughing in that way that makes Elijah's stomach churn. The privilege in Mitchell's laughter is obvious. How could it not be? The whole office knows how much Mitchell has secured his place here with subtle manipulation, his network of old-school connections. Elijah knows he has no such network, no cushy back door to success. He only has his work, his merit, and that should be enough, shouldn't it? Yet here he is, still fighting, still questioning. Isabella walks by, pausing when she sees Elijah's tired eyes. She knows the look. She's seen it before, in the eyes of people who have been worn down by subtle oppression, who have been given more work with less recognition, who have been pushed down time and time again. "Hey," she says quietly, "you okay?" Elijah looks up, offering a tired smile. "Yeah, just the usual." She sits down next to him, her voice lowering so only he can hear. "I see what's happening. I know you've been taking on more work, and Mitchell's making sure you know he doesn't appreciate it." Elijah shrugs, trying to mask the frustration building within him. "I just have to keep my head down, do my job." Isabella shakes her head, her voice firm. "No, Don't let him make you feel small. You don't deserve that. You're better than him. I've been keeping track of your projects. They're better than anyone else's. Don't let him steal that from you." Elijah looks at her, surprised. Her encouragement feels like a small lifeline in an ocean of indifference. "Thanks," he says, his voice a little softer. "But what can I do? No one cares if I work twice as hard." Isabella leans in closer, her tone conspiratorial. "I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm here. I'll back you up. I'm documenting everything. All the stuff Mitchell does. The little jabs, the stolen credit, everything." And she hesitates, glancing around as if the walls might be listening. "There's talk of a merger, a big one. Could mean new leadership. You've got a chance to show them what you're made of." Elijah takes a deep breath, his mind racing. The possibility of change, of being seen for his true worth, feels like a breath of fresh air, even if it's a distant one. But the uncertainty weighs on him. He knows Mitchell won't let him get ahead without a fight. That night, Elijah receives an email. Confidential. His pulse quickens as he clicks it open. It's from Human Resources. The subject line, "Promotion Opportunity, Vice President of Investments." His heart races. This is it. The promotion he's worked his entire career for. But there's a catch. The email also lists Nathan Reynolds as a contender. Nathan, whose work is unremarkable at best, whose connections are the only thing that have kept him in the running. Elijah knows this fight won't be fair. Mitchell will do everything in his power to discredit him, to make sure Elijah stays in the background where they think he belongs. As if on cue, Mitchell steps into the room. Elijah's pulse quickens, but he forces himself to stay calm, to breathe through the rising storm inside him. Mitchell doesn't waste time. "Did you see the email?" Mitchell asks, his eyes scanning Elijah's face for any hint of weakness. Elijah nods, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yes, I did." Mitchell smirks, a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. "Just so you know, Nathan's been pushing hard for that promotion. I wouldn't get your hopes up." Elijah doesn't flinch. "I don't need to. I know my work speaks for itself." Mitchell leans in, his voice low. "Work is one thing, but let's not forget what's really important here. It's not always about merit. It's about what you bring to the table. Connections, influence." Elijah's jaw tightens. This is it, the moment where his resolve could break. But instead, he takes a deep breath. "I'll take my chances," he says quietly. Hours later, in the quiet of the office, Elijah is alone. He's not sure how long he's been sitting there staring at his screen. His mind is consumed by the thought of what's next, of how to rise above all of this, to prove that his worth is more than they ever gave him credit for. Suddenly, the door opens. Mitchell steps into the room with a cold, dismissive smile, his hands clasped behind his back. "You've been working late, I see," Mitchell says, his voice laced with thinly veiled contempt. "Trying to prove something, Elijah?" Elijah stands slowly, his anger rising but his voice calm. "I'm doing my job. Something you seem to think is beneath you." Mitchell's expression hardens. "You think this is a fight you can win? You'll never be more than just another guy who works hard but is never good enough. You'll always be in the shadows, Elijah. That's your place." Elijah's breath hitches for a moment, but he doesn't back down. He pulls out his phone, a steady hand tapping the record button as he speaks into it, loud and clear. "I'm recording this, Mitchell. Every word, every lie you've ever told to undermine me. And I'm not going to let you do it anymore." Mitchell's eyes widen, but he quickly hides the surprise with an empty laugh. "You think that'll stop me? You think anyone's going to care?" Elijah's voice grows firmer, louder. "Yes, Mitchell, they will. Because I'm not going to stay silent anymore. Not now, not ever again." The silence that follows is deafening. Elijah's heart beats louder than ever, but for the first time he feels like he has control over his destiny, over the fight that's been forced upon him. The battle for his worth, for his place, isn't over yet. The room is charged with tension as Jonathan Whitmore, the CEO, stands at the head of the long conference table. His voice, usually smooth and reassuring, now carries an edge of urgency that catches everyone's attention. "Ladies," he begins, his gaze sweeping across the room, "I have some news that will change the future of this company. We are merging with a global conglomerate. This partnership will reshape our direction, bring in new opportunities, and yes, it will mean leadership changes." Elijah's heart races. He's been working for this moment his entire life, though he never imagined it would come like this. The room erupts into murmurs as everyone processes the news. Mitchell, standing near the back, exchanges a quick look with his allies. Elijah can see the wheels turning in Mitchell's head, the quiet smile forming at the corners of his mouth. But Elijah is determined. This is his chance. The weight of the room shifts when Elijah stands, his palms slightly sweaty but his resolve clear. All eyes turn toward him. Mitchell sneers, but Elijah doesn't waver. He steps forward, standing tall despite the years of discrimination and undermining he's faced. "I've been with this company for over a decade," Elijah says, his voice steady. "My work speaks for itself. I've been the one to turn projects around, to bring success where others saw failure. I have the numbers, the results, the dedication, and I'm ready to lead." He pulls out a portfolio and places it on the table, his fingers brushing the edges of a tape recorder. He presses play. The room goes quiet as the voices of Mitchell and Elijah fill the space. Mitchell's mocking tone is unmistakable. "I don't know, Elijah. You may be good, but Nathan has the network. It's not about how hard you work, it's about who you know." The recording continues, Mitchell belittling Elijah's efforts, dismissing his accomplishments with cruel indifference. Elijah stands tall as the audio plays, each word stinging. But this time, it's not his pain alone. It's everyone's pain. The weight of years of silence is laid bare for all to hear. As the recording ends, a cold silence blankets the room. All eyes are on Mitchell now. His confident smirk has vanished. His mouth opens, but no words come out. For the first time in a long while, Elijah can feel the eyes of his colleagues on him, not with indifference, but with the recognition he's always deserved. Jonathan Whitmore's face darkens. His jaw clenches, and Elijah can see the fury building behind his calm exterior. He turns toward Mitchell, his voice low but lethal. "Mitchell," Whitmore says, "you are dismissed. Effective immediately. I won't allow this kind of behavior to poison this company any longer." Mitchell's face flushes with humiliation as Whitmore signals to security. Two large men step forward, their presence enough to silence the murmurs and gasps filling the room. They move swiftly, standing beside Mitchell like a storm ready to strike. "Wait," Mitchell begins, his voice shaking. But the guards don't hesitate. They grab his arms, escorting him out of the room with a force that sends ripples of disbelief through the gathering. The once feared manager is now nothing more than a man, escorted out of the building, his power stripped away in an instant. Elijah feels the weight lift off his shoulders, but it's not over. "Not yet." Whitmore turns back to the table, his voice commanding. "This company will no longer tolerate discrimination. We'll be looking to promote the best and brightest, regardless of their background. Elijah, your dedication and courage today have shown me the leader you are. I'm proud to announce that you are the new Vice President of Investments." The words hang in the air, and for a moment, Elijah can't believe what he's hearing. He's always dreamed of this, fought for it, bled for it. The moment feels surreal, as if the world has finally aligned with the truth he's always known deep inside. His heart beats faster, but this time, it's not from fear, it's from triumph. The room erupts into applause. His colleagues, those who have quietly watched from the sidelines, are finally giving him the recognition he deserves. Some are surprised. Some are still processing, but all of them are acknowledging his worth, his victory. Elijah feels his throat tighten as he meets their eyes. His victory isn't just his. It's for every person who has ever been overlooked, dismissed, or ignored. for every person who has fought to prove their worth in a world that has never wanted to see them succeed. This is their victory too. And as the applause continues, Elijah stands tall, knowing this moment isn't just about a promotion. It's about the beginning of something bigger, something that will change the company, something that will challenge the systemic racism that has plagued it for far too long. He's not just a survivor anymore. He's a force to be reckoned with. Elijah steps into the new office, and for a moment, the world seems to pause. The soft buzz of activity from outside the room doesn't reach him. The walls, once a symbol of exclusion, now represent something else entirely. A victory he's earned. He stands still for a moment, taking it in. This office, the one he once walked past with his head down, now belongs to him. His nameplate gleams on the desk, Vice President of Investments. He swallows hard, trying to steady the rush of emotions that threaten to overtake him. The door opens behind him, and the sound of applause floods the space. It's genuine, warm, unexpected. His colleagues, the same ones who once brushed him aside, who doubted him, are clapping, smiling. Their faces, once full of skepticism, are now filled with respect. Some even look surprised, unsure of what to make of this new reality. He forces a smile, but it's hard to hold back the emotions bubbling inside. The fight, the struggle, it all led here. He earned this moment. No one can take that away from him. A familiar voice breaks through the moment of silence. "Congratulations, Elijah," Nathan Reynolds says. His voice is softer than usual, with none of the arrogance he once carried. He steps forward, his hand extended, but the gesture is more than just a formality. It's real. The rivalry, the old tensions, they're gone now. In their place is something Elijah didn't expect. Acknowledgement. Elijah looks at Nathan's hand, surprised. For so long, Nathan's privilege had been a reminder of what Elijah had to fight against. Now, here he is, offering respect. Elijah takes a breath, then shakes his hand, firm but not aggressive. It's a quiet acknowledgement of how far they've both come. "Thanks, Nathan," Elijah replies, his voice steady, a small but sincere smile breaking through. Nathan nods once, stepping back, and Elijah can feel the weight of the moment. He's no longer the underdog. The playing field has changed, and Elijah has come out on top. But more than that, he's done it on his own terms. As the applause dies down, Isabella Torres approaches him. She's smiling brightly, a spark of joy in her eyes. There's no need for words. Her support has been his anchor throughout this journey, and now, seeing him stand here, triumphant, she's proud. "You did it," Isabella says softly, her voice full of admiration. Elijah takes a deep breath, finally letting himself exhale the weight he's carried for so long. "We did it," he corrects, his voice thick with emotion. She smiles, nodding. "You didn't just fight for yourself, Elijah. You fought for all of us." His eyes meet hers, and in that moment, the struggle, the late nights, the doubts, it all feels worth it. He's not alone anymore. He's not just a soldier in a battle he can't win. He's standing beside someone who believes in him, just as much as he believes in himself. Later, in the privacy of his office, Elijah dials his mother's number. It rings twice before she picks up. "Elijah, baby, what's going on? How's the big day?" His mother's voice is warm, familiar, and full of that unwavering support he's always known. He chuckles softly, unable to hold back the tears anymore. "Mom, I did it. I'm vice president." Her laugh, so full of joy, fills the airwaves. "I knew you would, baby. I knew you could. You didn't have to fight dirty. You just had to be better, and you were." He nods even though she can't see him. "I didn't know what that meant until now. But you were right. I didn't need to be like them. I just had to stay true to myself." "Exactly," she says, her voice softening. "You showed them that your talent was enough, that you didn't need anyone to open doors for you. You did it all on your own. And I'm so proud of you, Elijah. He leans back in his chair, letting her words wash over him. His mother's wisdom was always there, guiding him even when he didn't fully understand it. Now it feels like a shield, protecting him from everything that once tried to tear him down. As the conversation ends, Elijah sits back in his chair and looks out of the window, the city sprawled beneath him. He's at the top now. The view is different. The air feels cleaner. But it's not the office or the title that makes this moment special. It's the journey that brought him here. The fight, the perseverance, the times he thought he couldn't keep going, but did anyway. He didn't just break the system. He surpassed it. On his own terms. The victory is his. But it's more than that. It's a victory for everyone who has ever been told they don't belong. For everyone who has fought for their seat at the table. For everyone who's been held back because of the color of their skin. Elijah's gaze hardens, filled with the kind of resolve that only comes after facing adversity and coming out on top. This isn't just about him. It's about everyone who's been left behind by a system that values privilege over talent. It's about proving that no matter what, your worth cannot be defined by the box they try to put you in. And as he sits in his office, the weight of his journey finally settling in, Elijah understands something deep in his soul. The true power of resilience isn't in revenge or retaliation. It's in standing firm, in staying true to who you are, in never giving up on your worth, no matter how many people try to convince you otherwise. This office, this title, it's a symbol. But it's also a message that change is possible, that the fight is worth it, and that resilience isn't just surviving, it's thriving. Elijah smiles to himself, the future wide open ahead of him. He knows the road won't be easy, but he's ready.